Hello, this is Anne Marie, and today is TipTop Tuesday, and it is January 9th, 2018. I'm pretty sure that's the date. If not, I'll change it later on the town below. The topic for TipTop Tuesday today is grace. Grace is an interesting topic to me. The reason I started thinking about grace, I think, was because of the fires, the Thomas fires, and also some of the other things that are happening right now around the world. The storms. In many of you might not know, but in Eastern Washington, there's a fault that's splitting. So there's a lot of land, nature issues going on. Years and years ago, I remember reading in the Bible, the lots of things would happen and the earth would have all these changes, and that like it was a bad thing. So that was, hi Charlene. So I kind of grew up with the notion that nature, if a lot of things happened like earthquakes or fires, it was a bad thing. That was my childhood thinking. As I've gotten older and I've observed what does nature bring when we have disasters, what nature brings is people coming together. And I know I talked a little bit about that before. Usually when there is good morning. Anyway, usually when there is a crisis, people just jump to it and help each other. Now, the difference was that the Thomas Fire had some ups and downs, which was really interesting energetically to see. One of the things that happened was there was a lot of negative energy going to the fire, which can only feed a fire because fire is for cleansing. When people started praying more, I asked people to pray. I'm sure other people also did, praying for the people involved in the Thomas Fire. They made progress. And somebody who's on another list of mine who doesn't even know about this commented on, she had lots of fears about the fire at first, and then she saw her husband again, who was a firefighter, and that the energy had cleared. It was a much better feeling. People were happy. They felt like they were actually contributing. And then it happened again. The energy got kind of wonky. And she reported it. So again, I asked people to pray and send positive vibes to that, and then the fire turned. That to me is a bit of evidence to support how nature works with us, not against us. One of the things that nature is working with us is to honor our true nature. And that true nature can be through grace and through the heart. When I was a little girl, we learned a lot about grace, and grace comes from God, which I didn't really understand, but I understand it better now. And I have this example. This friend of mine gave me a bowl. She's been deceased for a long time. But when you do this, right, you can kind of see that when you're putting the energy out like this, I think that my hits, but the energy kind of flows in the bowl, right? Now, if we, and that's God's love coming through us to work. Now, if we turn it upside down, it's all about us. It just stops. It's not flowing. There's nothing there. So we end up not getting the full benefit of our actions because we decided not to access grace. How do we access grace? Through an open heart. When we are showing true love to people and not being afraid, that's grace in action. I had an interesting experience over the holiday. It was before Christmas. It was before I went down to California. I must have done a show because I was very late at the store. That's a 24-hour store. It was a Metropolitan Market side. You don't need all that detail. But anyway, a woman in there had the same kind of car I have, which is a RAV4. And so I, parking lot's empty, it's dark. I engage in conversation with her and talk about kindness and memories with our cool cars and all this stuff. And that was the end of it. And she got really quiet, and I thought, oh, she thinks I'm a nut for talking to her. I mean, that's my perception. So later, I noticed that in one of my neighborhood blogs, that somebody commented on talking to somebody in a Toyota, and it didn't even faze me that it could be me, you know? And then later, I read it again, and it just happened that I was having a terrible day that day. And there was something that had happened that made me I felt very sad. And I was processing that. And while I was processing it, this woman pays it forward and reposts this thing and talks about the incident and talks about the smile and the kindness and the car and all that. I'm going, oh my gosh. And the parking lot and where it was. I'm going, that was me. And she said, and then she gave me a big hug. And she said it pushed her forward for the new year, and she was paying back, not even knowing, like I didn't tell anybody there, that she helped me in the coming year. And over 50 people responded to this about how cool it is to reach out for kindness. That's grace in action. That's grace because you're doing something with no expectation of return. When you do that, it puts in motion the higher vibration that human beings thrive on. You know, I've talked a little bit about children and babies and how they just have this loving heart. And so this is an encouragement to honor your own gracefulness in moving forward. We talk about it as an action step, and when we're graceful, you know, the movement. Well, that also works in our actions. So this is the tip top today, is to honor your grace within your being and realize that it's a connection. When we work with grace, it's a connection with God, but it's also a connection with each other. Going this way and this way. So oh, thank you. Yeah. Isn't that right? Yes. And so, pushing forward to the new year, I'm welcoming people to recognize the grace within their heart and each other. Thank you, Susie. Yeah, I was pretty jazzed to do this morning. Yeah, I was, yep. And I have color. Did you notice that, Suze? Because I just felt like we needed a little dazzle, and the scarf's dazzly too, just to bring in grace. And anyway, so I think that's about it. The action step is to be open-hearted through action and not make it an intellectual decision. Make it namaste, that namaste thing where I see the spirit in you and you see the spirit in me, and it's the open-hearted lovingness. The more we acknowledge our true nature, the happier we're all going to be. Okay, that's it. And have a dazzle of a day with love. Bye.